Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to see flow in Mule 4 as well as subflow. But in this video, we will cover only theoretical section. But in our next video, we will cover the practical things. So let's start. A flow contains three sections which are source, process, and error handling. In this diagram that is representing a flow, we can clearly see there are three sections: source, process, and error handling. So this is our Mule flow. Mule apps process messages and other parts of Mule event through Mule components, connectors, and modules that are set up within a flow and subflow. From this point, we can understand that our Mule application process Mule event using the components, connectors, and modules that are set up within a Mule flow and subflow. An app can consist of a single flow, or it can break up processing into discrete flows and subflow. A Mule application can contain a single flow, but in practical it contains more than one flows, or you can think or you can understand this point as something like Mule apps in production environments typically use multiple flows and subflows to divide the app into functional modules. Like you cannot perform all the things in a single module. Okay, so in production, a, an an application that is need to be deployed in production performs multiple tasks. So to perform these tasks, we divide the we divide these tasks into multiple flows and subflows. Flows can have mule sources such as HTTP listener receiving a request that trigger the execution of a flow. As we have seen in this slide, there is a mule flow. Okay, so a flow can contains the source part. Okay, our source part can have a HTTP listener for receiving a request or triggering the execution of a flow. Next is subflows. A subflow is a scope that enables you to group event processor in a manner similar to that of a flow, but with certain differences and limitations. Uh, a Mule subflow can also have Mule components, but there are some difference between Mule flow and subflow, which are subflow do not have Mule event sources. You can see in this diagram there is no Mule event source, as well as subflows do not have an error handling scope, and also there is no error handling. So there is only process part in our subflow. During design, subflows work as macros that replace the flow reference components that call them. If you know the C++, then uh, you have idea of inline functions, so you can understand subflows as inline functions. Otherwise you can understand from this point, like subflows work as macros that replace the flow reference components that call them. It means whenever when we make a Mule application, we to call a subflow from a flow, we use flow reference. So when or I can say I can explain this topic or this point well in next video. So for now, just understand subflows work as macros that replace the flow reference components that call them. When when you will build the application, all flow reference components that call a subflow are replaced by the content of the reference subflow. Just suppose there is a subflow and we are referencing or we are calling that subflow from flow reference. What will happen? The components of subflow will replace the flow reference at runtime. So referencing subflows result in better performance than referencing a flow. What are the limitations? Contents of a subflow replace each flow reference component. that references that subflow. And limitations are something like configuring a batch job inside a subflow causes the application to fail during deployment if the subflow is referenced from more than one flow reference component. Just suppose there is this a subflow in our application and we are referencing that subflow from multiple flow references. In that case, our application will fail during deployment. So that why it will fail during the deployment, the reason is that the application fails to deploy because multiple instances of a batch job with the same job instance id exist, which is not allowed. So these are the limitations while working with the subflows. I hope uh, this video will help you. So that's it from my side. We'll see you in next video. Thanks. Bye bye.